The golden hour light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Nobu Malibu, casting warm shadows across the polished concrete floors. Margot Robbie sat at a corner table, her blonde hair catching the last rays of sunlight as she laughed at something her companion had just said. She had chosen this spot deliberately, tucked away from the main dining area, hoping for a quiet evening away from the relentless glare of public attention. Leonardo DiCaprio, her longtime friend and fellow actor, sat across from her, his familiar face creased in a rare relaxed smile. They had known each other for nearly a decade, ever since they'd worked together on several projects and discovered an unexpected friendship beneath their professional relationship. Leo had always been protective of his friends, especially when it came to the relentless pressures of Hollywood fame. "Remember when you used to hide behind sunglasses and baseball caps everywhere?" Leo chuckled, gesturing toward Margot's effortlessly elegant appearance. She wore a simple black dress and minimal makeup, yet somehow managed to look like she'd stepped off a magazine cover. "Those were simpler times," Margot replied, twirling her wine glass between her fingers. "Though I'm not sure they were better times." Their conversation was interrupted by the sharp clatter of heels on marble. A young woman in her early 20s approached their table, phone already extended, recording. She had the artificially glossy appearance of someone who lived their entire life through a camera lens, perfectly contoured makeup, ring light attachment clipped to her phone, and the hungry expression of someone chasing viral content. "Oh my God, it's Margot Robbie," the woman announced loudly, causing several other diners to turn and stare. "I'm Chloe Park, I have like 2 million followers on TikTok. This is so crazy." Margot's smile faltered slightly, but she maintained her composure. "Hi there. I'm actually having a private dinner, so if you could." "Don't worry, this will just take a second," Chloe interrupted, pushing closer to the table. Her phone camera was now inches from Margot's face. "Oh wow, you look so different in person. Like, way more tired. Is that just the lighting or?" Leo's jaw tightened, but he remained seated, watching the interaction carefully. Years of experience had taught him when to intervene and when to let Margot handle things herself. "I'd really prefer not to be filmed right now," Margot said firmly, raising her hand to block the camera. "Could you please put your phone away?" Chloe laughed, a sharp sound that cut through the restaurant's ambient noise. "Come on, don't be like that. You're a public figure. This is what you signed up for, right?" She zoomed in closer, narrating to her audience. "Guys, Margot Robbie is being super weird right now. Like, why is she being so antisocial?" The restaurant manager appeared at their table, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. "Miss, I'm going to have to ask you to." "It's fine," Chloe waved him off dismissively. "I'm almost done." She turned back to Margot, her voice taking on a mock-concerned tone. "Seriously though, are you okay? You look really rough. Have you been sleeping? Your skin looks kind of blotchy in this lighting." That's when Leonardo stood up. He didn't move quickly or aggressively. He simply rose from his chair with the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to commanding attention both on and off screen, his tall frame and unmistakable presence immediately shifting the energy in the room. His voice, when he spoke, was calm and measured, the kind of quiet authority that had served him well in boardrooms and on film sets alike. "Ma'am," he said, his dark eyes meeting Chloe's directly. "The fact that you have a camera doesn't give you the right to be disrespectful." Chloe blinked, momentarily taken aback by his presence. She had been so focused on Margot that she hadn't really noticed the man sitting across from her. Now, with Leonardo DiCaprio standing before her, the Leonardo DiCaprio, Oscar winner, environmental activist, one of the most recognizable faces in the world, she seemed to realize she might be in over her head. "I'm not being disrespectful," she protested, though her voice had lost some of its earlier confidence. "I'm just making content. This is my job." "Your job," Leo repeated slowly, "is harassment?" "I'm a content creator," Chloe insisted, holding her phone higher as if it were a shield. I have rights too, you know. Freedom of speech, freedom of press. And Ms. Robbie has the right to eat dinner without being filmed and insulted by strangers, Leo interrupted gently. Those rights seem a bit more fundamental to me. The restaurant had gone noticeably quieter, other diners now openly watching the confrontation. Some had their phones out, but kept them discreetly lowered. Even in an age of constant documentation, there was something about Leonardo DiCaprio's quiet authority that demanded respect. Margot sat perfectly still, her hands folded in her lap, watching Leo handle the situation with the same measured composure she'd seen him bring to press conferences and red carpet interviews. Chloe's phone was still recording, capturing every word of the exchange. "Are you threatening me?" she asked, her voice rising slightly. "Because I'm live streaming this and I have witnesses." "I'm not threatening anyone," Leo said evenly. "I'm simply pointing out that respect is a basic human courtesy. Camera or no camera." "Look, I don't know who you think you are," Chloe began. "I'm someone who believes people deserve to eat dinner in peace," Leo replied. "And I'm someone who has very little patience for bullies." The word hung in the air between them. Chloe's mouth opened and closed several times, as if she were trying to formulate a response but couldn't quite manage it. "I'm not a bully," she finally said, but the protest sounded weak even to her own ears. "Then act like it," Leo suggested quietly. Chloe's face flushed red, a mixture of embarrassment and anger warring across her features. She looked around the restaurant, suddenly aware that every single person was watching her, judging her. The elegant diners at nearby tables weren't pulling out their phones to support her, they were looking at her with expressions ranging from disapproval to outright disgust. "You don't understand," she said, her voice becoming shrill. "This is my career. I need content. I have bills to pay, sponsors to keep happy. You celebrities live in your ivory towers, but some of us have to work for everything we get." Leonardo's expression softened slightly, though his stance remained firm. "I understand working hard," he said quietly. "I've been working in this industry for over 30 years. But work doesn't justify treating people badly." "Easy for you to say," Chloe shot back. "You probably make more in a week than I make in a year." "Maybe," Leonardo acknowledged. "But that's not the point. The point is that respect isn't something you earn based on your bank account. It's something every person deserves simply for being human." Margot watched the exchange with growing admiration for her friend. She had seen Leonardo handle aggressive paparazzi, intrusive journalists, and even environmental protesters who disagreed with his methods, but she had never seen him try to reach someone the way he was trying to reach this young woman. "Look," Leonardo continued, taking a small step back to give Chloe more space. "I get it. The algorithm rewards extreme behavior. Controversy gets clicks. But at what cost? When you go home tonight and look in the mirror, are you proud of the person you see?" Chloe's phone trembled in her hand. For a moment, her carefully constructed influencer persona cracked, and something vulnerable flickered across her face. "You don't know what it's like," she whispered. "The pressure to constantly create, to always be on. One day you're trending, the next day you're forgotten. Then maybe," Leonardo said gently, "it's time to find a different way." The restaurant held its collective breath, waiting to see which way this moment would tip. For a moment, the entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Then Chloe lowered her phone slowly, her bravado finally cracking under the weight of Leonardo's steady gaze and the uncomfortable attention of everyone around them. "Whatever," she muttered, backing away from the table. "This is totally going viral anyway. You can't stop me from posting this." "I wouldn't dream of trying," Leo said mildly. "Freedom of speech, as you mentioned." Chloe turned and stalked toward the exit, her heels clicking angrily against the floor. She paused at the door, turning back one last time. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer," she called out, though the threat sounded hollow. "I'm sure we will," Leonardo replied, sitting back down across from Margot as if nothing had happened. The restaurant slowly returned to its normal volume of conversation, though Margot noticed several people still glancing in their direction. "Thank you," she said quietly, reaching across the table to squeeze Leonardo's hand. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," Leonardo replied simply. "That's what friends do." Margot smiled, the first genuine one she'd managed since Chloe had appeared at their table. "Most people would have told me it comes with the territory." "Most people are idiots," Leonardo said matter-of-factly, making Margot laugh. They finished their dinner in relative peace, though Margot couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would have consequences far beyond one uncomfortable evening. She was right. Within hours, clips of the confrontation were spreading across social media platforms. Chloe had posted the entire interaction on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, along with a lengthy caption about celebrity privilege and toxic masculinity. The video showed Leo's calm but firm intervention, his measured words, and Chloe's increasingly flustered responses. But the reaction wasn't what Chloe had expected. Instead of rallying to her defense, the internet largely sided with Margot and Leonardo. Comments poured in criticizing Chloe's behavior, praising Leonardo's restraint, and defending Margot's right to privacy. The hashtag respect boundaries began trending, with thousands of users sharing their own stories of unwanted filming and harassment. "This is exactly what's wrong with influencer culture," read one popular comment. "Thinking a camera gives you the right to treat people like content instead of human beings. That man showed more class in 5 minutes than she's shown in her entire career," wrote another. Major entertainment news outlets picked up the story, but their coverage focused primarily on the broader issues of celebrity privacy and social media harassment rather than the specific incident. Industry professionals began speaking out about the problem of aggressive content creators disrupting private events and public spaces. By the end of the week, TikTok had suspended Chloe's account for violating their harassment policies. Instagram followed suit shortly after, citing repeated violations of their community guidelines. Her management company dropped her, and several brand partnerships were quietly cancelled. Chloe found herself on the receiving end of the internet's judgment, experiencing firsthand the consequences of treating real people as content to be consumed and discarded. Meanwhile, Margot and Leonardo returned to their lives largely unchanged. The incident had been unpleasant, but it had also sparked important conversations about boundaries, respect, and the responsibility that comes with having a platform. Leonardo, characteristically, refused most interview requests about the incident. When pressed by a particularly persistent reporter, he simply said, "Everyone deserves to be treated with basic human dignity. That shouldn't be controversial." Margot, for her part, used the attention to highlight the work of organizations focused on digital harassment and online safety, turning an uncomfortable experience into an opportunity to advocate for positive change. The restaurant where it all happened became something of a landmark, with the staff taking pride in how they had handled the situation. The manager who had tried to intervene was promoted, and the establishment became known for its strong stance on protecting customer privacy. As for Chloe, she eventually resurfaced on smaller platforms, her following significantly diminished but her approach notably changed. The experience had been a harsh lesson in the difference between creating content and simply being cruel. The encounter at Nobu became a case study in business schools and social media ethics courses, an example of how quickly digital fame can turn to digital infamy when basic human decency is abandoned in pursuit of viral content. Leonardo continued his work as an actor and environmental activist, though the incident earned him praise for demonstrating how to use celebrity influence responsibly. His calm, dignified response became a template for how public figures could address harassment without resorting to aggression or public shaming. And Margot continued acting, though she became more selective about where and when she dined in public, always appreciative of the friends who understood that fame, no matter how bright, shouldn't come at the cost of basic human respect. The golden hour light that had illuminated their dinner that evening became a metaphor of sorts, a reminder that even in the brightest spotlight, everyone deserves moments of shadow, spaces to simply be themselves without performance or judgment. In the end, The most viral aspect of the entire incident wasn't the confrontation itself, but the conversation it started about treating each other with dignity in an age when everyone has a camera and anyone can become content. Sometimes the most powerful response to aggression isn't aggression in return, but simply the quiet insistence that respect isn't optional, and that having a platform doesn't grant permission to treat others as anything less than human. The story spread not because of the drama, but because of the decency, a reminder that in a world increasingly dominated by performance and spectacle, authentic human moments still have the power to cut through the noise and touch something real in people. And in a strange way, that might have been the most important content created that evening after all. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoy this video and learned a lesson. I would be grateful for your likes. Also don't forget to subscribe and comment on the video. See you soon.